Ezra. So the puzzle then is, as these numbers are going down, why do they persist? They do scale back a little, and I have a theory. I want to ask you if you agree with it. Which is, Trump seems to have decided that his resurrection after January 6th, after losing to Biden, came about because he stuck with his base. Trump seems to think this is his secret power, that he stays with the base and the base never leaves him. And that's why he seems to be doing all these things that, as you point out, are getting very unpopular. I mean, he's way underwater in almost every issue, including immigration. So to me, the puzzle is, why is a guy who's normally very attentive to two things, stock markets and polls, still doing stuff that is very unpopular? And could it be what I'm talking about?
Let me meet your theory with another speculative theory. I have a theory that the Trump administration is the opposite of the Biden administration. Joe Biden, by late in his presidency particularly, was no longer a capable communicator. And his inability to lead the conversation, to communicate in public, to do the public leadership the president needs to do, created the impression that no one was actually in charge of the White House. But my reporting on the Biden White House is that there was a quite traditional policy process that the president was ultimately presiding over. I think the Trump administration is the opposite of that. I think Trump is such an aggressive, constant, and capable public communicator, whatever you think of that public communication, that he gives an impression of being in control that Biden was not able to give. But his White House does not have a clear policy process. I don't think that he is presiding over things in the same way that other presidents typically have. And as such, I think that a lot is happening that is not running really through the preferences of even Donald Trump. Trump's second term is full of highly ideological loyalists who are extremely good at manipulating Donald Trump himself through flattery, extremely good at manipulating Donald Trump himself by telling him what he wants to hear. People actually running things like Stephen Miller are hardcore ideologues who have the president's trust and know how to talk to him. But what they really want to do is not remain on the right side of public opinion. They're not sensitive to the whim and will of the public in the way that Trump, the showman, is. They have a hardcore ideological agenda, often a very extreme agenda, and they are pushing that agenda. If Trump now says no to them, they will stop. But they're very good at making it so he doesn't say no to them. And so Trump is like the ceremonial head of this administration. I'm not saying he's never involved, but the degree to which we see him on our television, I think, is in some sense inversely related to the actual level of control and participation he has in his White House.
But why do you think Trump is very sensitive to something like the stock market, right? He must be looking at these polls. Why do you think he isn't changing course?
I don't think he is that sensitive to the stock market. I don't disagree with you that he is sensitive to at least parts of his base. But how good the information he's getting is, which polls he is seeing and being fed. There is a fair amount of reporting that one reason he got very involved around Minneapolis was that he happened to not be in Mar-a-Lago that weekend because he was in D.C. for the premiere of the Melania documentary. And so he was talking to different people than he would normally talk to and getting a different sense of what was happening than he might normally get. I think it is easy to assume that Trump's habits are, and particularly the structure around him, is giving him a full sense of what's going on. But I'm not sure that's an assumption we should be making. I think a lot of people are feeding him bad information. That is not to say, I want to be very clear about this, that Donald Trump does not support what his own administration is doing, or that if he was getting good information, he'd be making good decisions. I don't think either of those things are true. But I don't think that he is so on top of things that he is in a day-to-day way paying minute attention to what's going on. I think he's got a lot of advisors telling him everything is going great. This is the most successful administration in history. You're on top of the world. I think to some degree he believes the people flattering him.